Okay, so this is going to be part two of the problem solving. Part two of the problem solving. So the area of a rectangular rug, the area of a rectangular rug is 49x squared minus 27y squared inches. Use factoring to find the possible dimensions of the rug. Well, I know that 49x squared is a perfect square. The square root of 49x squared is 7x. I also know that 25y squared is a perfect square, and the square root of 25y squared is 5y. So when I factor this, I have factor 7x plus 5y times 7x minus 5y. So I'm going to kind of draw a picture and label my measurements for my rug. So here's my rectangular rug. I'm going to make this be the 7x plus 5y measure. And this is going to be the 7x minus 5y measure. So the second part of this question says, what value would you need to subtract from the longer side and add to the shorter side of the rug for it to be a square? Well, I'm going to do that algebraically. If I subtract 5y from the long side and I add 5y to the short side, that's what it says. What can you subtract from the long side and add to the short side? That's going to make it a square. Well, that just gives me 7x times 7x. So if I were to take this piece right here, let's say that this is my plus 5y part, and I were to subtract that and add that over to this part, that would give me a 7x by a 7x. And we proved it, like this is just a little sketch, but we proved it algebraically. Okay. All right. It says in the courtyard at West Carteret, there are several rectangular raised garden beds. For each of the areas given below, find the possible dimensions. Well, if we're dealing with a rectangle or a square, right, our possible dimensions, that just is another way of saying factor. Find the possible dimensions. That's another way of saying, hey, you need to factor this, right? You need to factor this. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply together to 256, that when I add them, I get 32. Two numbers that multiply together to 256, that when I add them, I get 32. Well, that's 16 and 16, actually. So this factors to x plus 16 times x plus 16. And there is a better way to write that. I can actually write this as x plus 16, the quantity squared. It says, could any of the garden beds be a square? Well, this one is definitely a square because both dimensions are the same. Both dimensions are x plus 16 and x plus 16. It says, what would the actual dimensions be if x was 18? Well, if x was 18, 18 plus 16 is 34. So this would be whatever 34 squared is as an area. So my area is 34 squared, and my actual dimensions, my length is 34, and my width 34. And these are inches. Inches, inches squared. This is 34 squared. I'm actually going to put that into my calculator and figure out what 34 squared is. 34 times 34 is 1,156. I don't think it asks you for the area, but if it did, there you go. Okay, so that's your area, your length, and your width. Bed number 2. Well, this looks like the difference of perfect squares, so I'm going to factor this. So the square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 4y squared is 2y. So this factors into x plus 2y. and x minus 2y. So this is a rectangle because my dimensions are not the same. This is a rectangle. So this side can be my x plus 2y side. This side can be my x minus 2y. Well, if x is 18 and y is 24, x is 18 and y is 24, that's going to be a problem, right? That's going to be a problem because this is going to give me a negative measure. This is going to give me a negative 78, and that's not possible. So although it's factorable, those given dimensions are not possible because you cannot have a negative side measure. All right, let's look at this next one. Factor, let's see. So what are two numbers that I can multiply together to get 100, that when I add them, I get negative 20? Well, that looks like negative 10 and negative 10. So x minus 10 times x minus 10. So the better way to write that would be x minus 10, the quantity squared. And if I let x equal 18, so first of all, I want to say that yes, this can be a square. This can be a square. Both my dimensions, both my sides have a measurement of x minus 10. And if x is 18, 18 minus 10 is 8. So the length equals 8 inches and the width is 8 inches. Area 64 square inches. Okay. I'm going to flip over to the back. We have 4 more questions. 4 more questions. So it says match each expression with its factored form. Show your work. So 25m squared minus 9n squared. This is my work for I. Well, the square root of 25 is m squared is 5m, and the square root of 9n squared is 3n. So I have 5m minus 3n times 5m plus 3n. So my answer is answer choice C. For my next one, 20